At-large Councilor Susan Chin Anderson, also Deputy Mayor, and I want to welcome you, the gentleman in the back on the right, my right, way back there. I don't know why you're standing back there, but you want to introduce yourself?
Bill Harrison, Councilor at Large.
Thank you. So I want to welcome you to the At-large Councilor meeting. This is, I think, we do this. I've been doing this every quarter since being elected and taking office in July. And I'm really happy that to see that a lot of people from all 4 wards have been attending the meetings. This is a really good opportunity for us to all hear from staff in the departments about what is going on, to get information, and to hear directly and engage. I want to hear from you, and Councilor Harrison wants to hear from you as well. So we're going to have a nice discussion. So just a quick thing, this is the agenda. We have a packed agenda, several presentations, and would really like to leave time for our open discussion for anything that you want to talk about that's not on the agenda. Restrooms are over there in the back. There's refreshments, and if you'd like, please sign in. There's a clipboard in the back. If you just put your contact information and indicate if you'd like to be added to the email list for any correspondences, that would be great. You can also, if you haven't already signed up through the Township website, make sure you register with the Township to receive email alerts, important information by email. And so that's how you'll hear about these meetings, about street closures, emergencies, things like that. So so let's just get right into it. The first presentation, I'd like to bring up. First, I'd like to bring up some really special people here, students, university students who are part of the 2026 PSENG Institute of Sustainability Studies, right? And they've been at Montclair State, and they're the green team that is working with us and the Department of Sustainability for this summer until August. So please welcome them.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
We are the Green Teams of Montclair State University, and today we're here to do a presentation on why we need to increase Montclair street canopy. My name is Mebo Chukuma. I'm a bio student. I'm a finance student, so majoring in fine arts, but I do have a minor in biology.
Hello everyone, my name is Jordan Fleischman. I'm an incoming sophomore at the University of Michigan, double majoring in economics and the environment.
Hi, I'm Julia Navarro, and I'm a human-computer interaction student with a minor in sustainability at NJIT.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Omer. I'm a rising junior at Columbia University and I'm studying biological sciences.
And I'm Gianna Pissarro. I'm a double major at Rowan University, majoring in communication studies and public relations, and we are the green team serving the Township of Montclair.
So, why trees? Why are trees important? How do they add to our overall wellness? And why are they a common solution to stormwater runways and other issues that the community and the environment faces? Well, trees have a lot of benefits. For example, we have clean air. Nowadays, climate change has been doing a number of things in our air, and trees are one of the things that actually make it healthier. We also have reduced stress. Yes, reduced stress. I know there's a common misconception that stress and trees don't have any correlation, but I'm here to tell you that trees can actually reduce your stress hormones. We also have beautiful streets. Who doesn't want to live in a community or in an environment where there's a lot of greenery? We also have decreased heat stroke risk. There are a lot of illnesses that can be caused by heat due to heat, such as heat rashes, heat strokes, and trees are a common solution to heat-induced illnesses. We also have improved mental health. There's also a common misconception that mental health and trees do not have any correlation. But I'm here to tell you that trees are actually a huge impact on your mental health, a positive impact on your mental health. And then we also have low energy costs. Who doesn't love to save money? And lastly, trees are just a better future for all of the Montclair environment and all of just every environment actually, not even just Montclair, like every environment, every township, trees provide a better future for us all. So, yes, there's multiple benefits of trees, but we're going to hone in on 2 different types of benefits. One of them being environmental benefits. So trees actually sequester, or rather absorb, a lot of carbon dioxide, about 25 kilograms. Trees also take up rainfall and also stormwater runoffs and runways up to 15 to 25% in urban trees. And a good amount of air pollutants by roadside trees are taken up also in 30% actually. So a lot of decrease in air pollutants by roadside trees are in the amount of 30% of trees. And then lastly, we also have economic benefits, which I know is really important to a lot of residents here. And a lot of them actually you can be able to do within the amount of time. You can actually start a lot of these things right away. 56% can be saved in air conditioning costs if you strategically plant trees annually, and also 26%, not even 26, 20% in heating costs. And get this, you can save up to about, sorry, not save, but you can increase up to about $7,000 in your home value.
Hello everyone, so now I'm going to speak on some myths and some inconveniences that may have misconceptions in the environmental sector. First, I want to focus on leaning trees. So at first, leaning trees may seem inconvenient or dangerous to a given ecosystem or household. But as residents, it's important to understand that trees actually tend to grow towards the light. And with an ultra-dense tissue known as reaction wood, it actually stabilizes the tree, preventing it from leaning or breaking over its own body weight. Next, I want to focus on tree litter. It's not litter, it's leaves that increase the aesthetics of your household. And these trees actually provide a sense of organic matter and nutrients to your soil, acting as a natural mulch, suppressing weeds and also protecting roots from temperature extremes. Lastly, a myth of the time, effort, and care gone into planting a tree. Many, including myself, perceive trees as being a large time commitment. However, through contacting the Township of Montclair, you can submit a request and have a tree placed in front of your house upon request. So those are just some simple myths and facts that will be beneficial for everyone in the future. Next, I want to focus on a large tree inconvenience known as sidewalk heaving. When I or everyone else is taking a walk on the street, it's awful when you run into a little uplift in the sidewalk, leading to pedestrians falling or tripping. It's a danger hazard. It's important to understand that trees shouldn't be prevented from growth just to avoid these issues. We actually plan around them through establishing root bridging, root barriers, root channels, and also selecting the proper tree species. Different trees have different size and length of roots, so it's important to know your environment, your ecosystem, before planting a tree. Now we're going to do a closer look and narrowing in towards the data, map, and statistics regarding our favorite town, the Township of Montclair. So these are some of the risks that we briefly touched on. They're simple. If you have any questions, I'm happy to go over the environmental, social, health, and economic risks of trees at the end of this presentation. Just to move on, these are more of the narrowed statistics towards Montclair. In the 6 years from 2020 to 2025, this township has lost 4,786 trees. And this is just the floor, as many other trees go undocumented. Moving forward, this net canopy loss is 2,133 trees, with over half of these trees taking place in Ward 1. It's important to understand that when you have to cut down your tree, you're required for one replacement tree. But 20% of these replacement trees are species such as juniper trees that act as privacy screens, only fulfilling the requirements as a fence, not providing the ecological and environmental benefits such as shade, carbon sequestration, and floodwater mitigation. It's important to understand what type of tree you're planting to meet that replacement satisfaction. And also regarding to one phenomenon we all know, the urban heat island effect. Since 1895, there's been a 3.6 degree Fahrenheit increase overall in northern New Jersey, but Montclair being a predominantly urban area in some sorts, it's important to understand that this impact can occur to a larger extent in certain neighborhoods. And this is just a graph, as we can see, red representing Ward 1. So these are private permanent removals by ward. And so we can see on private property, households in the first ward usually tend to have greater removals compared to other wards. But we can't just prioritize one ward. To actually combat this issue of the vanishing tree canopy, we must not isolate one, but rather work together in all these wards to show that it is not just a solo issue, but rather a holistic one.
All right, thank you for that, Jordan. So now that we kind of went over the statistics regarding tree canopy loss in Montclair, let's really focus on the people who are actually impacted by it. Now, of course, tree canopy loss affects everyone in Montclair, but specifically there are certain wards and overburdened communities that have a higher risk of this. And so if you see this map is from the NJDEP, and it showcases the 42 census block groups that make up Montclair, and you can see that the highlighted in like red and darker red, those 21 census block groups represent overburdened communities within Montclair. And so just remember that region right there in the southeast, super important, because we're going to look at some other maps and you can see really strong correlations between environmental hazards, tree canopy loss, and these specific areas. So over here, this is another map, and this is the social vulnerability index map. And it essentially shows you, it assigns like a number, and it assesses how much a community is able to be resilient in the face of like environmental hazards and issues and whatnot. And so the lighter colors dictate a higher SVI, while darker colors such as like the green and the blue over there indicate a lower SVI index, which means lower resilience. And you can see that this map correlates exactly with the previous one, and it shows that overburdened communities have a lower SVI index. Thus, this is sort of like adding to our story as to why tree canopy loss is important, and especially in communities that are affected most. So another database that we found online is something called a tree equity score, and essentially what this is that it provides a number ranging from 0 to 100, 100 being the best, and it sort of tells you how much a community is benefiting from the tree canopy that it has. And so as you can hear, overall pretty green, which is great. However, if you see in the middle, bottom right, we see 5 distinct regions that are more of an orangey color. And so darker green means more sort of benefits from the tree canopies that Montclair has, as opposed to the orange, which means that there's less tree canopy and thus less benefits that the community is reaping. And once again, you see that these regions correlate exactly with the overburdened communities who are primarily in wards 3 and 4. And so now, promise this is the last map slide. I think this is super cool. I think having these 3 maps next to each other really hits it home. So in the middle here, we have tree canopy. So if you see the darker green areas, that represents places that have more tree canopy as opposed to the lighter green. On the left side, that's surface temperature. Jordan touched on this again, 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit increase since 1985. That is really significant. And this map clearly shows certain regions are significantly affected by an increase in surface temperature. So right over there in that middle part, by Bloomfield Ave and whatnot. So that area, again, correlates with the low tree canopy from the map in the middle. And on the right side, we have flood risk, because surface temperature, flood risk, all of this goes hand in hand with tree canopy loss. And if we go to the next slide, the solution to all of these environmental hazards, especially those that are in overburdened communities, is to simply plant more trees.
All right, so I'm thankful that we have some context on the benefits and the problems that we're facing. I know just in the past 2 weeks we've seen some intense heat waves along with crazy storms, so there's clearly issues happening that are facing our community that trees can help us fight against. So now that we've gotten that over with, what are we doing? Who are we, and why are we talking to you here? So we are the Green Teams of Montclair. We are funded by the USDA in this grant given to the town of Montclair. And this project will be spanning a couple more years after us, but we can go into what we're doing this semester, or this summer. So, our main deliverables include a soil research component and a community outreach component. So, we are going around all of Montclair and sampling the soil in different wards. So, we'll get into that more on the next slide, but in order to increase tree canopy, we need to first see our soil quality. If our soil quality is poor, then the trees that we're planting will die or become sick, and that's just not sustainable. We also need to reach the residents of Montclair and ensure that they have information on trees, on planting native trees, that they want these trees. We need to get them engaged. And then finally, we'll have our final report on all of the work that we did this summer. So this is just a timeline of what we've been doing. Our program runs from May to August. So you can see we started doing some preliminary research on the town and on tree canopy. And then we started soil sampling this past week. Actually, we've spent basically the entire week soil sampling. and we just finished this morning. So we also have event outreach, which we'll be working on, including this event. We have the farmers market we'll be tabling at. We'll go to flea markets, but we'll be getting into the next slides. And then we're sending our samples to the lab, and we'll have our final comprehensive soil report. And so these are some of the maps that we've made using GIS, so Geographic Information Systems. And in the purple areas, these are public spaces that we're allowed to sample. So we're not going into any private property. We're making sure that we're serving public areas, also including the right-of-way in front of many private properties. So these are the public spaces that we have been going to. We're doing 25 samples in Ward 2 and 25 in Ward 3, which we've just completed, along with 5 heavy metal sites in certain parks across all 4 wards. And these samples are all randomized. Oh, if we see all the yellow points, these were the original randomized samples. So we have anywhere from 1 to 3 samples per 100-acre grid unit. That way we can get an unbiased look at all of Montclair's soil. And you can also see the orange is the overburdened communities that Sarah talked about. And in teal, we have the non-overburdened communities, just so we can compare the soil there. So what are we really looking at in the soil? We want to promote longevity in trees. So we have to look at organic matter to see how nutritious the soil is for our trees. We're looking at soluble salts because salinity can really negatively impact trees and make them die. And then so we have pH, which means like sometimes you have extremely acidic soil, which is not beneficial for your tree. And we also have nitrogen and phosphorus. So a lack of these elements can actually really harm your tree, and it will lack the nutrients that it needs to grow properly. And then our final things that we're testing for are lead, arsenic, and cadmium. So these are a public health concern as well as a tree health concern. So these are very important for us to ensure that the parks that we're looking at do not have contaminated soil. So this is just some pictures of us out in the field, as well as a more in-depth look at our soil sampling methodology. So you see like each little unit there, we're taking 3 points. And within those points, we take 3 again. We move a couple of feet for variance in order to ensure that we're getting the best and most accurate results for the community. All right.
So then as for our community outreach, we plan to attend multiple events that span across Montclair. As you can see from our map, we intend to go to the flea market, the farmers market, as well as tabling in Church Street in a few weeks, as well as partnering with local organizations such as the public library, different faith groups, as well as the news outlet, just like the Montclair newsletter and TV 34. And at these events, we're going to hand out educational material, including our citizen science kit, which will include a measuring tape and different educational material. So that's why every citizen in Montclair is able to look at the trees on their lawn, the trees next to their lawn, and be able to identify it, see if it's healthy or not, and also map it on a tree so Montclair could track the public and private tree canopy. And of course, like after we're gone in August, this mission and this goal of ours will continue past us. So if you have any suggestions on who we should partner with or what events we should attend, this is a QR code because the teams after us, as well as just the Montclair Sustainability Department in general, want to continue our tree mission, so we want to stay in touch.
Oh, and the QR code we can put on the screen afterwards for anyone. So first on future outlooks, obviously environmental science, nothing's ever complete, it's not fixed, but rather variable. You know, it's always unpredictable, which is what I personally love about the subject. So we want to help, what's the difference? So you can make a difference by planting a tree yourself, monitoring existing trees in your neighborhood, but also encouraging others to plant your trees, your neighbors' neighbors, you go to the gym with, the park with, anyone. And also lastly, planting native flowers to support your trees, because at the end of the day, we want to promote the prevalence of that individual effort along with working as a team, because together we really can make some severe change in this township, and it will be awesome for the outlook going forward. So that is all we have for today. We're open for any questions. Thank you, though.
The trees that were lost, age, disease, development, what caused the loss?
Gotcha. So those 4,786 trees that I stated previously, that's both public and private property. And so the causes of those tree loss happen to be mainly what I've read up on. Some of them were because they fell down. Others were removals from private property individuals. Maybe they don't want it for aesthetics or they don't like how it's on their lawn, but it was mainly, proactive from those house owners rather than being due to weather causes or natural causes.
I have a tree in front of my house that's 160 years old.
Oh, wow.
It's a twin white oak, maintained by Bartlett. They feed it every year and they trim it every 5, and every so often they put a new cable across. And that tree was there before me, it shall be there after me, and so I'm the caretaker to that tree. Unfortunately, I have neighbors that don't feel the same about their trees. Not that they're as old as mine, but they're probably 40, 50, 60 years old. And they are cutting them down to put swimming pools in.
Oh, no.
And the problem we've had in this town, which I think is going to be rectified soon, is that we needed to have a computer program that we could put out there to be able to manage what people want to do about taking the tree down. I think the majority of the tree companies come to town are licensed, as they should be, and do get the proper permit. But the problem is there's no follow-up afterward because we didn't have a program, the old manual, we don't have the labor force. So I know they put it in the budget for this past year to buy this program, which I think is costing $45,000. But that will be able to provide us the opportunity then to know who wants to take down a tree. And then based on the circumference, if it's a good tree, they're going to have to replace it with something else, or they're going to have to pay a $250 fine. I think it should be a higher amount, because one of the neighbors in the next street over took down 20 trees to put in a cabana and a swimming pool. People don't seem to understand that we need trees to breathe, And so what they're doing over there in that street, with all their millions of dollars, more than we have on our street, I think, is they're just doing whatever they want to do. So I'm expecting this new program will give us the opportunity to start controlling our issue. And I would say that number of how many trees are taken down, I would double that, because the rest is that we don't have the records on that.
100%. Yeah, sorry to hear that. When I was reading up on some advocates, a lot of issues that I was reading focused on the transparency of trees and when you remove how many are undocumented. So that's definitely a leading cause to this tree removal, and it causes concern for what's the true number. Hopefully, will we ever know that number? And so that should even raise more concern going forward. Yes.
You can Oprah if you see a neighbor taking a tree down.
You have to speak up.
You can Oprah if a neighbor is taking down a tree and you want to know why. If you Oprah the permit application, it should say on there why they're taking it down and what they're going to replace it with. They don't always fill it out, but you can look.
Well, the program is going to help us
program will be much
monitor
better,
this. That's
yeah.
what we need. I don't think each neighbor needs to start monitoring each neighbor. That's what
No.
they are property.
We'll wreak havoc this way. This is not a dystopia.
Yeah.
Right. Is this right? Everybody has PSC and G on it.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Oh, there it is. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for what you just said. I 100% agree. I would make one suggestion for your presentation in, what is the solution? Not just the reforestation, plant trees, but proforestation. Because this white oak that's 100 years old captures much more floodwater interception, much more drought prevention, much more pollution and carbon capture. And what is the forest that is on private land in Montclair and most cities, most of it is on private land, I should say. Most of the urban forest is on private land. And what is tracked is, when trees are cut down, even that's not tracked fully, but it's not tracked when trees are neglected so that invasive vines pull it down, and that's very, very, very common. I came here actually today to speak about that in the master plan, so I'll go into that later. But I would ask you all to please consider a more pro-forestation support, because it takes decades for a newly planted tree to grow, and it takes a lot of climate inputs to plant a new tree, whereas the existing tree, sometimes it can take just an hour to save it from whatever is, or making it ill, the invasive vines. And it's a much more cost-effective and climate-friendly approach. So thank you.
Thank you. We'll be sure to add that for sure.
Let's take maybe 2 more questions.
Yeah, I have a invasive tree, a tree of heaven, that's about 65 feet in my yard. So if I take that down to mitigate the Japanese lanternflies, will the towns require me to place a tree in its place, plant a new tree in its place?
That's interesting.
I can't answer that off the top of my head. As the current, we have a current ordinance that I believe it's just a straight 1-to-1. It doesn't, the current ordinance I don't believe actually directly addresses invasive trees, but it doesn't.
Yeah, what the ordinance we're working on
Yeah.
would encourage you to remove invasive trees
Yes.
and
Yeah.
with no requirement to replace it, because we want people to remove them and not have an additional cost to
Right.
replace it.
Right.
So just hold tight till it comes out.
But sorry, I'm sorry, I know there are a lot of questions, so maybe, I think you had your hand up first.
Thank you. Just quickly, trees are very easily planted incorrectly, which leads to the problem that you said about taking care of trees and maintaining them. So I would suggest that you just include something, a little bit, not a lot of detail about how to plant a tree. I'll just say that most trees are planted way too deeply. They often come from the nursery that way, and then mulch gets piled on top of them, and it just makes for a very weak root structure, which will not make for a healthy tree.
So yeah, we could definitely include something of that in our educational materials.
Yeah.
So
And that's part of the reason we're doing the soil research. We know like what kind of trees to plant, what soil. Because the soil is really salty, you can't place like a tree that can't sustain that. So that's also part of our research that we're doing.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys did an excellent presentation.
Thank you.
I apologize, I got here late, I just found out about the meeting, so I don't know what the segment is. I own property on Bellevue Avenue, but I don't want to just get involved in, so are you going to have a question?
Oh, he had a question, yeah.
Because I have something on phase 2, but are you dealing with this in an order of trees and other things within the township?
So they're not they don't work for PSENG, they're the,
No,
okay.
I wish they did.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
I apologize.
I'm not here for the shirt, but.
No, I wanna hear from you, but did you have?
Here's the question.
Yeah, we'll come back to you, don't worry.
Sorry.
I'll come out with just a shirt, I'm happy.
Okay, so I think you had a question.
I don't know if it's a question or more of a comment, but I don't want to whitewash the role of the county and the town in tearing down trees.
Yes.
You had, an arborist and a code enforcer who was telling me to take down a tree. You have the trees that were taken down the Riverview area that, according to the paper, I don't know, it said there was a miscommunication.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you can miscommunicate taking down 100-year-old trees that seem to be fine. The county is cutting down trees in Glenwood Park, saying they were impacted by the construction of the Wally Choice. They're far away from Wally Choice. There shouldn't have been any impact on it.
And we had the snow dumped.
And the snow dump in, right. How are those trees doing, by the way, if I know?
Lisa, are you back there?
Dr. Johnson?
The trees in the park? Yeah, the trees at Erie and Essex.
And has the town figured out where to put snow in the future?
Yes, so we're working on a snow storage plan, so they will not be put in Essex, they won't be put in Essex Park in the future. As far as the trees, the students will be doing sampling, soil sampling.
Yeah,
So
that's one of our priority sites because of that. So we're doing heavy metal testing there to make sure the soil's healthy. And if not, we're going to make a healthy soil in the future.
Yeah, they're going to be testing for the salt and the soil too, if it's still there.
Yeah.
So we're addressing it.
So stay tuned. Yeah, you'll see soon.
Correct, yeah, and as of this morning, Joy and I, we were at Erie Park, just extracting samples, spending a couple of minutes there, making sure we have adequate supply to really generate a positive result, or a transparent result.
But, I hope the town has stopped the policy of planting ornamentals in the street
Oh, yeah.
instead of real trees. We need the real trees. As I said, the taller the tree, the bigger the leaf canopy, the more environmental benefit the tree has.
I think that's definitely something that's going to be factored in. And I don't know if many of you know, we had the previous arborist is no longer working for the township. There's a new one from the same company. And so that, a new arborist with a stronger tree removal and replacement ordinance, along with just, more, part of the ordinance is going to propose basically a committee to make sure that the different departments within the township are talking to each other whenever there's, something tree related. And there should really be a plan, right, for the town as far as like trees, what kind of trees, where they should go. So I think that this is going to be a really good opportunity for a complete reset of the program. And so thankfully we have lots of people who are very interested in trees and want to hear from you. So thank you. Okay, well thank you guys.
Thank you.
for the great-
Awesome. Oh, yeah. Awesome.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Is this just on trees?
You could fill out the form,
Yeah.
or we could give you like a email or a number. Like I said.
Send me a. Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. We need business cards.
And
We
again,
should have brought
I
business
apologize. I'm
cards.
not sure if you're doing it in like an order, but I have commercial property on Bellevue Avenue, and we do have trees there. And we do have problems with trees dying. The
Which email should we?
township has
She
been
should send us the
relatively
last scan, the
good
QR
at
code.
replanting trees. And it is a commercial environment on Bellevue Avenue,
One of us.
so they do die. And you have a bit of a challenge, it's an
Yeah, should we give
older
him some?
property, but it's
Yeah,
municipal.
so I'll ask her.
And we did have an arborist.
Do you want me to just ask her?
We need some direction on what to do with trees that have died that need to.
I have a lot to get through, so I'm just going to ask everyone to settle down. We'll have time. Hopefully, we'll be able to stay here for a bit after 8:30 for anyone who wants to, talk or ask questions. Before we get on to our township manager's presentation on the finances and taxes, which I'm sure many people are very interested in hearing about, I just want to take a quick commercial break and get through some announcements. So I just wanted to show you, and you can take a picture of the slides if you want, the rest of the 2026 council meeting schedule. If you don't know, in the beginning of the year, we decided that the council meetings are going to have a start time of at 5:30, starting with executive session, and then the public portion of the meeting start at 7 o'clock. And you can also watch the council meetings live on Channel 34, stream them, and they're also recorded. This meeting is being recorded. It's not being live streamed, but it'll be available on the YouTube website along with all the other meetings that we've done. Just some quick announcements, just highlighting, and again, a lot of this stuff is included in the Township newsletter, which is a monthly newsletter that our Director of Communications started putting out by email at the beginning. This is something that many of our the current council wanted to do. We used to have a Township newsletter when I first moved here back in 2009, and then it sort of went away, and we wanted to bring that back. So July 15th, there's going to be a community meeting at the 4th Ward at the corner of High Street and Orange Road. It's going to be basically led by our Director of Complete Streets, Jake Neiman. He just started that position, which was created by ordinance last year, but Jake started this position in January. And he's really going to be soliciting feedback from residents who live around the corner of High Street and Orange Road to talk about talk through some ideas. that the Complete Streets Department and the Oversight Board have discussed to make this intersection of Irving, High, and Orange Road safer. As you know, there's no traffic lights there, there's no stop signs. It can be kind of confusing. Orange Road is a county road, but we have been talking about different and hearing different ideas, and this is an opportunity for residents to chime in on some of the ideas that have been talked about before anything comes to the council. Also, I just wanted to let you know, since some of these streets are you might live in and around some of these streets, the township has been doing a sanitary sewer system rehabilitation project. Very important. We need clean water. We need the wastewater to be properly channeled through our town. It started back in April, and it's starting back up in July. I understand, and these are the areas that are going to be worked on in the next couple of weeks. I understand that this was supposed to resume this week, but there were some issues with the contractor that the township had contracted with, not putting out the notice properly. So I just read that they're doing it again, and the directly impacted residents are going to be to receive information about how they'll be affected and what to do. And you can go to the website if you want more information. Okay, Church Street pedestrianization. This is something that's I was really excited about, and I know other residents and business owners have been too. This is something that the council unanimously decided by resolution that we're going to approve trying out, closing off most of Church Street in downtown to car traffic, closing it off one weekend per month. It started in June through October. So it's just one weekend a month. There is an apartment building there that residents have to access, and they're actually, this was all discussed. There were plans, discussions with the police department. They can access their driveway. They can, go in and out of their building without a problem. But this is something that is sort of a pilot. There's going to be data collected about, whether or not this increases foot traffic, how many visitors there are. That's all being collected. And it's really an opportunity to make this street, for people. And allow for, there's going to be activations starting in July, events, hosted by different community groups. I think you heard the Green Team is going to be tabling there this month. And so I hope people go out and enjoy. There's lots of family fun, music, and things like that.
Susan, when you say weekends, is it all weekend, 24?
From 10 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Saturday and Sunday?
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Yeah. So the next one will coincide with the finals weekend of the World Cup, July 17th through 19th. Okay, and then also quickly, I wanted to let you know that there are opportunities for residents to volunteer and submit applications to be considered to serve on various advisory committees, boards, and commissions. You just fill out an application online, give a little bit of your background. You can read about each of the committees and boards and commissions, what they do, how they're established. And there are lots of openings on several committees. Environmental Commission, we actually now have 3 open positions, 2 alternates and 1 regular member. One of our regular voted commissioners just rolled off. And so that's a very busy commission. But we have other committees and commissions that need membership. And if you feel like you have any skills or background and you would like to work with other people, please consider applying. Hi, Bill. Yes?
Is the council going to reinstate the Transportation Committee?
There has been discussion about it, not at this current moment, but I think there was parking and transportation. I think there was a committee there. So, yeah, we're talking about it. We're talking about a couple of different new committees. So, all right. And again, I just wanted to make sure that people are aware that the township did post information on the website back in February of last year. Know Your Rights information for immigrants. and allies, anyone who encounters, what to do if you encounter federal immigration enforcement, and just to keep you safe and your neighbors safe. There are a number of organizations in New Jersey that provide, legal, sort of not legal advice, but information about, what to do and what is and is not a proper, action on behalf of the federal civil immigration enforcement. The second one is a relatively new resource that I found out about. It's the Consortium for Immigrant Children. And on there, if you know anybody who wants to put in place a power of attorney, if in the case if they are captured, basically, and detained, and they have young children, who is going to take care of their children, who is going to be their guardian. So you can get information about that there. And then finally, just a reminder that the 2025 New Jersey Property Tax Relief Programs, the application is available, and it's still, it's still happening. The deadline to apply for any of these 3 programs that New Jersey offers it's due by November 2nd, and there's one application where you can apply for all 3. You can also get information about eligibility there. 2 of these, the Senior Freeze and Stay New Jersey, are for seniors 65 and older. But the Anchor program is, and both of those are for homeowners. But the Anchor program is not just for homeowners; it's for renters as well. And you don't need to be age 65 or older. The benefits and eligibility is really based on whether or not you've lived in New Jersey in 2025, income and age. So please.
Is that the same?
Sorry?
Is that the same application for renters who are not seniors? Do they also apply on the PAS 1?
Yes.
Oh, so everything's on the one application?
It's one. Yes, it's one application. Okay. Thank you for that question. Yeah. Okay. So next, I'm going to bring up Mr. Stephen Marks, the Township Manager, and he's going to talk about our finances and taxes.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. So my name is Stephen Marks. I'm the Township Manager. So Susan had asked me to give a little talk about the budget and the taxes this year. So it's probably not a surprise that Montclair, everybody probably knows in this room, Montclair has an extraordinary tax burden. The Star Ledger came out with a report in February of this year that ranked the top towns in New Jersey, actually ranked all, there's 565 towns in New Jersey, and Montclair was actually the 13th for having the highest residential property tax burden among all towns. According to the report, which is based on state data, it's the yellow area highlighted on the side. The average property tax bill, residential property tax bill in Montclair in 2025 was $22,487, and the average property value for a residential home was $600. The assessed value, not fair market value, but assessed value was $639,628. So this is how your property tax dollars are apportioned. The large blue area on the side is for schools. Last year, the schools raised $145 million through local property taxes. That accounted for over 57% of your local property tax dollars.
And how much was stolen?
So the county.
Please address that.
Please, I'm going to ask that there not be interruptions and save your questions to the end, please.
The county tax burden on Montclair was approximately $39 million, which accounts for a little over 15.5% of every property tax dollar. County open space was about $1.7 million, which is less than 1%. This is highlighted here. This is the municipal portion of your property tax dollars. So, if I can see, it's highlighted, so I apologize. Anyway,
Looks like about 25%.
it's about 20. It's about 25%. I'm sorry.
I think
And
I saw
then
20.
it's actually right. So it's actually right about here, municipal. Thank you. Thank you.
See how bad
Tax
it
levy
is.
rounded, about 25%. Anyway, do you want me to? Oh,
Just
that's
over
okay.
to the right a little bit, yeah. Yeah, 24.60.
Okay, 24.5%. Hey, Rick.
Oh. What are you doing? Doesn't want
All right, thank you. So this presentation is on our website, so I know there's a lot of fine numbers. I don't expect anybody to actually look at the numbers right now, but for preparation of this year's budget, we looked at 6 years of revenues and 6 years of appropriations. So probably not surprisingly, the single largest revenue source is local property tax dollars. This is this is a graphical representation of what I just said. So in the 2025 budget, approximately more than half, approximately $62 million of the town's budget came from property tax dollars. Other larger portions were pilot payments, cable TV, franchise tax, hotel tax, etc. It's about $9 million. You always generate a surplus, and then you use a portion of last year's surplus in the next year budget. So for last year, it was about $8 million in surplus. And then Montclair actually, when it was a Type 1 school district, Type 1 being appointed by the mayor and council, assumed the debt from the Type 1 district. So the municipality is still paying off that debt. That drops off in a couple of years, but last year that debt, that Type 1 school debt, was about $7.7 million. This is an organizational chart of what the municipality looks like. Different departments, actually the mayor and council at the top. The mayor and council have 3 direct reports, being the town attorney, the town manager, the town clerk, and then there's other business units under this structure, including animal control, communications, human resources, etc. Everything from police department to fire department. The point of this slide is there are many business units. Again, this is available if anybody wants to drill down into it on our website. These are the general appropriations by department. Again, I'm not going over it. It's available, but I'm not going over it. Besides the departmental operations, police department, fire department, Department of Public Works, etc., there are other things that the town pays for. Social Security for employees, health benefits for employees, those are not attributed to the departments per se. And this is basically what that looks like. This is a graphical representation. So out of last year's $107 million budget, $41 million went for salary and wages for municipal employees. $22.5 million was for operations, gasoline, paper clips, etc. Municipal debt service was about $8.6 million. Police and fire pension payments was about $8 million. Again, the type 1 school debt was $7.8 million. And employee group health benefits for all municipal employees and eligible retirees was about $7 million. So approximately this year's budget started approximately 1 year ago today. Why 1 year ago today? July 9th, 2025, State of New Jersey came out, the Department of the Treasury, which manages the state health benefits plan, came out with their rates for 2026. So in 2025, July 9th last year, the state came out with a 36.5% increase for health benefits for municipal employees, which is a significant number. We couldn't shoulder that number. We ended up leaving the state health benefits plan as a result of this. And the actuaries at the state of New Jersey are actually projecting even higher increases, 50%, 60%. So it's a good thing. It was more cost avoidance for future years, but significant increases. And this was really a driving factor in this year's municipal budget. So recognizing that, we did two things. One was we instituted a hiring freeze for non-essential full-time employees. And then I asked each department head to come up with 3 different budget scenarios. This was a memo sent out in September. 3 budget scenarios for 2026 by last November. One being a regular operating budget, all things being equal. One being a frozen budget, frozen at 2025 levels, and then one being a 5% reduction if basically things went south or sideways. So we held departmental budget hearings that were broadcast in November. Each of the department heads made a presentation on their respective budgets. As many of you may know, the state of New Jersey, more than a decade ago, instituted a 2% cap on municipal taxes and municipal budgeting. So this just goes over the rules of the road on that. There's things that are within the cap and things that are outside the cap. It's not that 2% cap is not on everything, but it's on many things. We also, there are like 4 important budget documents for any municipality. One obviously is your budget. The second is your audit. The third is your annual debt statement, which has to be filed with the state of New Jersey by the end of the calendar year or fiscal year. And then the fourth is your annual cash statement, or annual financial statement, rather. So these are both.
Are those online?
I'm sorry?
Are all those
These are all online. These are just the cover pages, but the underlying documents themselves, if you're interested and you go to the town's website, there's a tab for financial documents. So the budgets, the annual debt statements, the annual financial statements are all there, and the audit are all there.
Thank you.
So we commissioned last year a study on the fire department to come up with what is the right size of the fire department. Is the table of organization had called for 87 firefighters. Last year we were down to 70 firefighters. Fire department wanted to hire additional. We weren't sure how many, and especially given the budget situation, how many we could afford. So we actually hired a consultant to do a comprehensive study of the fire department. As a result of that, I issued this memo to the fire department, essentially freezing the table of organization at 70 firefighters, and then lowering the minimum daily staffing from 16 firefighters daily to 14 firefighters daily. The Montclair Fire Department had it was over $1 million. I think it was about $1.75 million worth of overtime every year, which was very high. So this one change, I believe, is saving the town about $1 million worth of overtime. It does come at a cost. So there's 5 apparatus, there's 3 engines and 2 fire trucks. If there isn't enough staffing to staff the second ladder truck, it will be quote-unquote ground out, basically taken out of service taken out of service. I'm
I
sorry.
have a specific question about the fire department.
Okay.
That's why I do want to wait to the end.
Okay.
My one question. I live right on the Glen Ridge border, and we've been carrying Glen Ridge for years.
Right.
Obviously, it's a cost savings for them. Their fire. Is there a benefit for us? What is the benefit of covering their fire?
So there's an interlocal agreement between Montclair and Glen Ridge. I believe from my recollection, the consultants looked at that contract. The value of that contract to Glen Ridge is about $2 million a year, and Montclair only realizes about $1 million a year. So I've had conversations with it's a contract between the two towns. I've had conversations with the Glen Ridge administrator expressing my frustration or, desire to amend the contract, so we are in discussions, and I won't bring it past
They have
that.
money.
Yeah, our money.
So this is the 2026, fast forward to 2026. This is what the 2026 budget appropriations looks like. The two, just to emphasize, the two largest, accounting for more than 55% of the town's budget, the two largest departments, the two largest spending categories are for the fire department and for the police department. So that accounts for about 56% of your local property tax dollars for the municipality. Everything else are those tiny little slivers up top. This is looking at it by category, appropriations category, operations meaning departmental, all of the departments combined are less than half of your local municipal property tax dollar. Statutory expenditures like debt service, social security for employees, etc., pension payments is about 15%. The debt service is about 16%. It's in those numbers that are embedded in the previous contract. It's just departmental operations are less than half of your local property tax dollar. So what were the driving changes for this year's budget? Number one was employee group health benefits. Even though we left the state health benefits plan going to an Aetna fully insured plan, and the health insurance benefits are actually in, there are seven labor unions in town. Each one of them, through their labor contracts, has health insurance embedded in it. It has to be equal to or better what they had previously, meaning the state health benefits plan. By leaving the state health benefits plan, we only realized about a $300,000 savings in this year's budget, but we're expecting larger savings in next year's budget, and especially compared to what the state health benefits plan would have been with its 40, 50, 60% increases, there will be significant savings. Pardon me. Contractual salary and wage adjustments, about $1 million, 1.25. The public library, this is not under the cap. There is a formula that's set by state statute for the library, but under the formula, the library's portion, the library's amount of taxes, is going up by about $382,000. PSC&G increased electricity rates for customers by about 17% in 2025. That accounts for about $215,000. There are two new departments, sustainability, that you heard from earlier, and complete streets. Combined, they're about $200,000. Gas and diesel, because the war in the Middle East, obviously, we're anticipating spending more for gasoline and diesel. The reserve for uncollected taxes, that is set because of the school budget. It was anticipated an increase. The Essex County Board of Taxation also ordered Montclair to undertake a property revaluation. That is about a $2 million endeavor. It's going to cost us about $2 million to roll out. You could spread it out over multiple years, so this year's allocation of that $2 million increase is about $400,000. It was also necessary, the town's computer and telephone network were failing, as some of, including the 911 system, which we can't, I mean, that's an emergency function, we can't do without that. The allocation in this year's budget for modernizing the computer and telephone network was about $320,000, etc. You get the point. Oh, so the bottom line was we were expecting about, in this year's budget, about $6.7 million in price escalations over last year. Besides the increase in appropriations that I just cited, there's a decrease in revenues. In that, I mentioned before, every year you take a portion of your surplus and you apply it, you use it to the following year's budget. Because of a slight decrease in the fund balance, or the surplus from $17.2 million in 2024 to $16.2 million in 2025. The chief financial officer only felt comfortable using $1 million less. So it essentially created the $6.7 million in increased spending, along with $1 million less in surplus utilization, created a structural deficit of about $7.7 million. That was a non-starter, right? So what did we do about it? Again, this is, so the municipal portion is about 24. This is another just pie chart from the county. Your municipal portion is less than 25%. So earlier this year, Essex County, we're part of Essex County, they adopted their budget. The county tax levy is approximately $468 million. County taxes are up by $8 million, which is an increase of about 1.73%. Salaries and wages accounted for $353 million, which is up by about $25 million, increase to 7.8. Other expenses was $380 million for the county, which is actually down by $91 million. So right now, typically the county strikes its budget in the spring, the municipality strikes its budget in the spring, and the school strikes its budget in the spring. We all deliver our budgets to the county tax board, and it's up to the county tax board and the county tax administrator to strike the rate. We are currently waiting for that rate. So as soon as we get the rate, the tax collector will turn that rate into your letters with the, you know, not prorated, quarterly, yeah, the 4 quarters, perforated. That was the word the perforated coupons that you send in with your taxes. Perforated. This is the municipal budget. So the municipal tax levy went up by $1.8 million. And that includes that's about 2.96%. The type 1 school debt I mentioned before was up by about $134,000, less than 2%. The public library levy I mentioned before, $382,000, which is an increase of 9.83%. Again, that is a statutory formula that's set by the state of New Jersey. That's not based on their need. It's like 2 mils per $100 of assessed value. So there's no getting around it. Many towns have tried to get around that formula, that funding formula that the state of New Jersey has set by statute. It is what it is, so we have to provide it whether, yes.
Do we get grants though for the libraries? Does that affect the numbers?
So I'm very happy to report, and you may have seen the New Jersey Economic Development Authority granted the library like a
$35.6 million.
$35.6 million. It's not technically a grant. It's a tax credit that they could use for improvements to the main branch and to the Bellevue branch. So I mean they are getting grants, but that funding is set by state statute.
These are great questions. I just wanted
I'm
to
sorry.
see if we can just kind of hold the questions. I think you have like 45. So thank you.
So the taxes were up by about, municipal-wise, the taxes were up by about $1.8 million, 2.96%. The operating expenses were down. We went with that 5% reduction across the board. So the operating expenses across all departments were down by $2.4 million. So our departmental operations were down by 7.34%. And we're doing that through the hiring freeze that I mentioned before and just tightening our belts and not spending as much money as we've had previously. So the average home in Montclair is assessed at $639,000. So the municipal taxes on a house assessed at $600,000. Municipal portion is $5,357. The average taxes for a house assessed at $600,000 is $21,000. I mentioned that before. $600,000, which is slightly below the $639,000 I mentioned before. This is just on the chart. So the municipal change is about 149.63. This is the Board of Education budget. The school tax levy was up by $5.3 million. The school tax rate was up by 59 cents per $100 of assessed value. The average home assessed at $639,600 is going to experience an $850 increase just in your school portion taxes.
Is that annual, quarterly?
That's annual. That's 26
Aside from
over
the one time.
26 over 25.
That doesn't include the one,
I'm sorry.
the one-time expense?
So I will go over that. I'm just going to skip ahead. So this is what the school board provides this to the town specifically and the county tax board. Question number one or it wasn't last year, it was earlier this year, was for $12.6 million. That $12.6 million is collected between July 2nd, 2026 and December 14th, 2026. The way that it's structured, and there's no other way of doing this under the law, the schools send their tax bill, basically their budget, their bill to the county to strike the rate, and also to the town tax collector to collect it. Normally, as the perforated portions of your tax bill, the 4 quarters, normally those taxes get apportioned over 4 quarters that are due August 1st, November 1st, February 1st, May 1st. And they're split into 4 equal portions. But because of a quirk in the law, that $12.6 million from referendum question 1 was due, or is due, between the 2 payment, and it's not spread out over 4 quarters. Because of a quirk in the law, it's spread out only over 2 quarters, being August 1st and November 1st. So that would, if unabated or unchecked, would have a significant increase, spike in your taxes this year. The mayor and council, recognizing that, wanted to eliminate the spike and just make it more even. So on June 9th, the last council meeting, the mayor and council by resolution authorized a tax anticipation note. So we went to market. We're actually borrowing $6.3 million to spread out. Instead of, we're still going to provide the schools with their $12.6 million by the end of this calendar year, but in terms of collecting it from taxpayers, we're going to spread it out over 4 quarters rather than 2 quarters. So it flattens out some of the spike. So there is a cost. The tax anticipation note is a short-term borrowing instrument. We went to market. We got a 4% rate. It will cost us about $198,000 to take out the tax anticipation note. But I think the mayor and council, in their wisdom, prefer to have an evened out tax bill rather than one with a huge spike and then a huge dip. So this is basically what I just covered. The additional property tax for the average residential home, I think based on that $12.6 million, is going to be over $1,000. On that home assessed at $639,000, it's going to be approximately $1,122. If spread, that's total. If spread over 2 quarters, it would be an additional $561 per quarter if it was just due on August 1st and November 1st. If spread out over 4 quarters, it's going to be about $280 per quarter. As Susan mentioned before, we highly encourage everybody who's eligible to apply for the Senior Freeze and Anchor and Stay New Jersey programs. I would be remiss if I didn't say, I mentioned before, the Essex County Tax Board ordered Montclair to conduct a property revaluation. So we're going through that process right now. We have to generate new tax maps by law. We have to send those tax maps down to the State Department of Treasury or Taxation for their approval. When we get the approval, we will be sending out, we've hired an appraisal company that will be visiting. There are 10,000 line items, 10,000 homes or properties, over 10,000 in Montclair. So an appraiser will be going to each and every, there's a team, it's an outside company that will be visiting every property. So the one thing I would encourage anybody who's here and anybody who may be listening is that when the appraisers come to your home, and there will be advance notice, it's It's not going to be a surprise, and they will be properly credentialed. When they come to your home, please let them in, because if you refuse to let them in, they will just assume that you have the best fixtures and the best everything in your house, and it'll probably be appraised at a higher value than it would normally be appraised at.
Will they be doing commercial properties as well?
Everything, the entire tax base, so it's all commercial, residential, and industrial. There's only 2, out of 10,000 line items, there's only 2 industrial properties, but everything.
And what's the time frame they're going to do that, the next several months?
They will be starting in October this year and finishing up, I think it takes about a year, finishing up in 2028. So this is just a description, I'm not going to go over it now, this is just a description of this is a copy of the order from Essex County Board of Taxation for anybody who's interested, a resolution from the County Tax Board, what revaluations are and why they're necessary. The last revaluation was completed in 2018. The County Tax Board ordered us to do it in 2024. I mentioned the tax maps are being updated right now. The inspections are anticipated to begin this fall. The revaluation is anticipated to be completed by October 1st, 2027, and the new valuations will go into effect in the 2028 tax year. So, questions, yes?
I had 2 questions. In terms of the freezing of hiring, without putting any judgment on new departments, that, it's a great idea. How does that fit in terms of creating 2 new departments? Are you taking staff people from one department and putting them in the next?
So,
are we creating new positions? How is that freeze?
The 2
That's
new
one question.
Yes. So the 2 new departments, the Department of Sustainability had 2 existing municipal employees in it. So there were no new municipal employees added. They were transferred from another department to the new department. The Department of Complete Streets has 1 employee. That department was funded in the 2025 budget. That employee was hired, there was a previous employee who was hired under 2025. The new employee, I don't recall when he was actually hired, but that, in consultation with the mayor and council, that was considered to be an essential position. So that hire was made.
And it was also required under the ordinance.
So the mayor and council approved a complete streets ordinance last May of 2025. So as Deputy Mayor said, it was a required hire.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Marks.
Sure.
In terms of, I'd like to know where on these pie charts, when you're looking back at what it cost us in 2025 and then projecting for 2026, I was not trying to be facetious about it, but where is the indication of the missing $20 million in these figures? When you're saying there's
I
a
assume you're
deficit,
talking about the schools, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
They're in
I am-
there, they're in your charts. I know the Board of Ed
So-
has their own budget, but there are accommodations there for what we're paying taxes on. Is that in your data, or are we just ignoring it?
No, so I think it's a fair question, but the municipality, the mayor and council are the governing body of the municipal government, right? We are no longer in a type 1 school district where the school board members are appointed by the mayor and council. The school board members are duly elected by the voters of Montclair, and they are responsible. We are no longer, like the mayor and council are no longer legally responsible for the school budget. We have an elected, like most.
The figures are in here about what we have to spend, though. That's what I don't know how it works at all. So.
Let me, so with the type 2 school,
Just talk.
type 2 school district, the Board of Education adopts a budget, they send that budget to the township and the county, and we have to raise the taxes that are set in their budget. So whatever they set, we have to raise the taxes. It goes on your tax bill, my tax bill, but we have no discretion. Whatever they put in their budget, whatever they adopt in their budget, we have to raise the taxes to pay for that. In terms of I'll start with the 12.7 million portion of the 19 whatever million. The bond issue passed. That's part of their budget, came to us. We have to pay that. They set it up, and I think they had choices, but they set it up because they wanted to pay the people who hadn't been paid for years. So that money had to be raised the first, in this year, rather than spread out in the 4 years, and that's why the council adopted the resolution to do the bond so we could spread that cost out. But that has to be paid. The $7 million bond issue that was defeated, the Board of Education had to make cuts to address the fact they
Yeah, like to
didn't have
restore
that money.
justice.
We're not debating this Board of Education budget, not under our control. Go talk to them.
The school board is a body politic, just like the county commissioners and the county executive. We have no more authority, the mayor and council have no more authority over the Board of Education than they do over the county executive and the county board of commissioners. Yes, sir. In the back.
Two unrelated questions, one I'll dovetail on that. The Board of Education, who has the role of holding them accountable and responsible?
The voters of Montclair.
Okay, but they're running amok, but so we vote them in, I get that, but when a mistake is made, when we think something's gone wrong, there's no governing body that goes in and says to those people that are on the board, hey guys, what's going on here?
So there's two layers above the school board. One is the county superintendent of schools, and the second is the New Jersey State Department of Education. So if they're really doing, if the Board of Education is doing something that's really legally, questionable, you always have the right to either bring it to the county superintendent of schools or the State Department of Education.
As a citizen,
As a citizen.
But we don't have a municipality person that would say, we think there's something wrong with it.
They are duly elected, they are their own body politic, they have legal authority to set policy, and they have oversight over the Montclair Public Schools and the Montclair Public School budget.
Okay, and an unrelated question now. I'm a senior citizen, there was a lot of, advocacy from the council and the mayor about building ADUs, and now we're gonna go through this assessment. Okay, so I'm building an ADU, am I gonna get jammed now on my taxes? Is like, because I was doing it to try to help the cause, I don't wanna hurt the cause now.
So the property revaluation is based on fair market value, right? So whatever fair market value, whatever you would reasonably expect, if you were to put your home, including the ADU, on the market today, assuming the ADU is completed, right? If you were to put it on the market today, rhetorical question, what would you expect? That's the fair market value. So the revaluation is based on the fair market value of every property.
Okay,
So if you have a modest
I invested
ADU,
money to do the ADU, and now I'm gonna get slammed on my taxes.
well, if you have a modest ADU, I'm sure the fair market value of the modest ADU will be modest. If you have an extravagant ADU, I'm sure it will be reflected. Yeah, yes.
Hi, if I understood you correctly, one of your charts showed departmental operations within the municipality at less than 50% of the budget.
Right.
For 2026. Is that common? Is that considered a good percentage? Is it too much, too little?
I think it's par for the course. I don't think, I don't think it's good. I don't think it's bad. It's just, it's a public information. It's a factoid. It's a public information item just to say, the police department, the fire department, DPW, et cetera, the sum total of all departmental operations is less than half of the actual budget. There's a lot, debt service and, gasoline and diesel and electricity. There's a lot of other things that don't necessarily go into departmental operations.
So electricity and diesel doesn't go into operations?
I don't know. They are, no.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You had actually, for anybody who's interested, I mean, the charts that I had at the beginning that are in the presentation that are available on the website go over all of these things, right?
And just another quick question. I remember years ago that the school budget used to be about 50% of the town's budget when there was a board of school estimate, and 25% was county and 25% was a municipal, roughly speaking. And now the school budget, of which we have no control at all, is 57%. Did I understand you correctly?
Thereabouts.
So do you see a trend in it going up? I mean, I don't know what it was in 2020.
Is it
I mean,
for
it's-
all the rentals? A lot of rentals, I might imagine there are kids in all these rental units.
No.
I don't want to speculate.
Yeah. Just seems
I
like
mean,
a lot.
I would imagine some of that is due to increased healthcare.
Yeah. I know, it's just.
So the statutory unclassified and miscellaneous I mentioned, postage, building maintenance, health benefit waiver, the purchase of a fire truck, natural gas,
Okay, all right.
Montclair Early Childhood Corp., diesel, telephone, gasoline, additional support provided to the Montclair Public Library, street lighting, electricity, social security for
Okay.
employees.
So some of that could be considered operational, depending on how you.
If you were to prorate it,
Got it.
you know,
Yeah. Okay,
that's
thank
that's an exercise unto itself.
Thank you.
One more? Two more?
Is there a way to cut Glen Ridge off on their own with the fire department? You know, well, why are we carrying Glen Ridge if there's no benefit to us?
I think that's a legal question.
I'm not giving the legal answer, but the prior council entered into a contract with them for a number of years, and as Mr. Mark said, he is negotiating with it, but absent their agreeing to a change, we're kind of stuck with what we legally agreed to.
We re-upped it though, right? We renewed it.
The prior
The
council.
prior council, there was an agreement, they entered into a new agreement that one could say was less favorable. It is unfortunate, but
That runs for how long?
I think it's 10 years.
it was a total of 10 years, so it probably has like 7 years.
New agreement, yeah.
And
Do they provide mutual aid to us?
No.
No.
We're
Well, for police function, there's a mutual aid, but they have no fire department of their own, so
they don't.
we provide fire services for Glen Ridge, so they can't reciprocate because we're the provider. Yes.
How does the BID fit into the budget, if at all?
So the Business Improvement District has its own budget. It's raised by an assessment on commercial properties within the Business Improvement District itself. So a residential property taxpayer, either in the district or outside the district, is not contributing a penny towards the operations of the Business Improvement District.
Where's the money coming from?
Commercial properties, you know, like retail stores, restaurants that are within the Montclair Center bid.
Well, through their taxes?
It's considered an assessment and not a tax, but a tax by another name.
So is it voluntary on their part?
It's compulsory. I believe the mayor and council created the Business Improvement District by ordinance back in 2002 or 2003. So it's a legal construct created by the town. It's an added assessment on commercial properties that are within the district. And it raises, the bid there's a district management corporation, a governing board, so to speak, that comes up with the annual budget. They present the budget to the town, and the mayor and council have a public hearing on the bid budget, which was either the last meeting or the meeting before. And then if it's approved, they've got an operating budget for the following calendar year.
Is there an equivalent in the first ward? I mean, do those business owners have to do anything?
The Montclair Center bid covers only, the greater Bloomfield Avenue, the Bloomfield Avenue corridor.
How do the other shopping areas?
Okay, the way this happens in all towns is if the business owners in a particular area feel that a bid would be helpful to them, they ask the town governing body to create the bid, and once it's created, they form their own governing body that proposes a budget that the council will approve, and then that money gets paid out of the commercial
So
property.
they're paying for it because there's a benefit to them overall?
you know, for smaller areas, you know, and I've dealt with this in other municipalities, there's a real question as to, you know, because there's an administrative cost. You have to hire someone to head it, as to whether you as a business are getting the return that you're paying for. And for the Montclair Center, that's clear. There are a lot of businesses, you know, a lot of commercial properties, and there's a benefit. You know, I think the South End business owners would have to look at, and would this be beneficial to them? Would the benefits outweigh what the cost would be to sustain the bid?
What are they getting from it?
Well, they,
Marketing is
Oh, okay.
Programming,
yeah,
marketing.
programming, you know, doing programs that will attract people,
But
do
the money they
marketing.
pay goes to the town overall.
No, the money is used to promote the businesses.
Oh, okay, thanks. I had no idea what.
and they can apply for funding on their own, you know, they.
Grants
apply
from
for
the state.
grants.
And we're getting a new director?
Yes.
Yes,
We're starting next week.
Okay. And is the improvements in the BID supposed to include improvements not only for business, but for residents?
No.
And property owners?
Well,
Property owners, if part of their property is a commercial property, some of the benefits, you know, I mean, there are very few purely residential buildings in the residential, but some of the improvements are going to benefit them just by nature of, you know,
Well, there's a lot of single-family homes also.
but not within the business improvement district.
The residential homes do not pay an assessment that goes to the bid.
Because I live downtown, and in terms of the way it looks right now, it leaves much to be desired in terms of cleanliness, etc. I don't want to put a damper on the whole process, but I'd be really interested in meeting with the new director. Because it's not only about the businesses.
Right.
It's about the people who live downtown.
Yeah, the impact.
Agreed.
Right. The
But the
quality of
businesses
life.
impact the community as the township as a whole.
Right. And businesses have to maintain their property.
No, we all do.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
The question about the ADU raised a question in my mind. Is the building assessment for an ADU based on just the physical, or does it take into account the rents realized? And also for a residential building that has rental unit in it, you know, does the amount of the rent affect the evaluation, or is it just physically the
There's two ways appraisers could assess value. One is the fair market value of the structure. The second is an income approach. I'm getting over my skis because I'm not an appraiser or an assessor. So you know, for income producing properties, there's two ways that they could go about doing it.
There's criteria for building an ADU, right? Usually it's family member or whatever. What happens when the major house, if that owner sells or dies, like, does it continue that there's an ADU on the property and somebody buys the property and inherits an ADU?
The ordinance requires that one of the units on the property be occupied by the owner of the property.
Oh, so if there's a second owner, a subsequent owner, they can still have an ADU?
Right.
But the first owner has to have applied.
Or the owner could live in the ADU.
Right.
Doesn't matter which.
But I'm just thinking when it passes on, like, what changes?
There's a registration requirement so the property owner has to demonstrate that they are living in one of the units. And if not, in theory, we have not hit this situation yet.
Yeah.
The ADU can no longer be occupied, and they would either have to abandon the ADU use, or they would come in for a variance for a second dwelling unit on the property.
Oh my dead body.
One more question?
okay, this might be a little complicated, so if it's too much, then we'll just pass on. But in terms of the Lackawanna Plaza and the reevaluation, right, is that going to impact our assessed values? Because we're going to have all of this new housing, and so how does that impact our taxes overall, if that at all?
Screw everybody.
Okay, so start off with the land will forever be taxed at the value of the land. That land is going to be revalued with every other piece of property in town, and whatever that value is, they'll be paying straight standard taxes on that. For the improvements on the property, once any of the improvements are complete, the Township Council approved a pilot program for it, which sets forth the percentage payments that will be paid, which, you know, based on the economic analysis will be considerably more than what is currently being paid for the improvements on the property. And the experience with the other pilots in town, they, as you saw on the chart, they pay a substantial portion of the taxes in the town through the pilot, their pilots.
And so when is Lackawanna, because I heard it was approved, I mean,
Yes.
so what's the timing on that?
So the agreements were approved,
Okay.
but it still there has to be a site plan presented to the planning board.
They're required by the agreement with the township to apply for the site plan approval by September, at the end of September. They're based on the past hearings on Lackawanna, that is going to be a multi-month process, and no reason to think that's going to magically be better. And there is the likelihood that the same neighboring property owner who has appealed everything else related to it is likely to appeal the site plan approval. So do not hold your breath for buildings to be improved on that property in the immediate future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we can stick around for a little while after the meeting, if people are available. But I'd like to thank you for all of your questions, and this is great. I'd like to move on to the planning department is here to just give some quick presentations. I don't know how long they are. Janice Talley, she's the director of planning and community development, is going to talk a little bit about the master plan re-examination report and the process, the community meetings that are scheduled now, and somebody who's relatively new to our township, Cynthia McLeod-Blue, fantastic, recently hired housing specialist, is going to talk to you about the housing rehabilitation, the home rehabilitation program. I don't know who wants to go.
Good evening. It's good to see everybody here on this very summer-like evening. We've got a couple of new initiatives in the planning department. Number one I want to talk about is we have been able to hire a part-time employee, grant-funded, so no municipal funds, but we have a housing specialist who started several months ago through funding from the state of New Jersey. Cynthia Blue is our housing specialist. She is here this evening to talk to you a little bit about some of our housing initiatives. One of the things that Cynthia, if you want to come up, the grant funds that we received for this position is to advance the initiatives in our adopted housing plan. We adopted that plan in April, I think was the final adoption, or maybe that's the ordinances. I can't keep my dates straight. But anyway, we got funding from the state to jumpstart our programs, including working with faith-based organizations, because the faith-based organizations have some of the largest tracts of underutilized facilities in Montclair, trying to come up with ideas and programs to create more affordable housing in ways that respect the existing neighborhood character in various parts of Montclair. But one of the other things that Cynthia is doing is she is overseeing our home improvement program. We had it a couple years ago. We stopped it made some minor tweaks and we've restarted again. We just relaunched it and had a workshop about a month ago. So Cynthia, if you want to talk a little bit about our home improvement program, and I will pass out the flyer.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. I will speak with you regarding our home improvement program, of which we launched on June 13th, 2026. The purpose of this home improvement program is to provide grant funding to our homeowners based off the income, and on the flyer you will see what the income levels are, to assist you with any repairs that are needed for your home, especially if it's anything that's health and safety, or like electrical, a new roof, major things that you really need help with. That is the purpose of this funding. And you can receive funding up to $35,000, which nowadays is not as much money as you may need. So what you can do, and I did not bring the paperwork with me, that I forgot, is to piggyback our program for Montclair residents only with the county program, which also provides up to $35,000 to make any major repairs that you may need. Now, please understand, this is a grant, but what the township will do is place a soft lien on the property, or a soft mortgage. And the reason why that is done is because we don't want homeowners utilizing the grant funds, and then they turn around and sell their homes, and the value's gone up, and that extra additional monies you've put in your pocket. That's not fair. That's not what this is for. This is to help the homeowners. So that soft mortgage is on your property for 10 years, but it is nothing that you repay as long as it maintains its same ownership. If within the 10-year period you do decide to sell, then the portion is prorated based on the number of years in which you've owned the property up until the time of sale. So this is the home improvement program that we are putting out. Also know that if you need to, you can piggyback it with the county's program, which is also a home improvement program. And if you have any questions, I am generally in the office Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 9 to 5. Feel free to come and meet with me, ask questions, anything that you would like to know. Or I do have a telephone number, which is 862-395-5200. Thank you. Yes?
How is this program funded?
This program is funded through a portion of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which is accumulation of fees that have been paid by developers to the township. So that fee that they've paid, we're using a portion of that money to give back to homeowners to help them with their homes.
So it's not tax dollars?
I'm sorry?
It's not tax dollars?
No, it's not tax dollars at all. Absolutely not. No. Yes?
What is the definition of annual household income?
For per person, I have to take off my glasses to really see the numbers. The maximum income for one person, you're employed, you're working, or if you have a pension or Social Security, for one person is $77,000.
I mean, what are the components of the definition?
Is it AGI?
Well, okay.
This is a loaded question.
Yes, it is a loaded question. So don't give me the whole question, because there's more to it. You know, it's basically based off your income, and it is the adjusted gross income, not the gross max, but the adjustments based off your tax return.
Okay.
So your adjusted gross income at this particular level. It does not include assets, because if it did, you wouldn't probably qualify for the grant because you're a homeowner and your house has value. So it is based off your income, whether it be employment, pension, Social Security, whatever the criteria is based off your household size.
Just add to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's
it's actually very technical how we have an administrator for the program.
Yes.
And how income is calculated is a very technical endeavor. The details are in our program manual. And if you contact Cynthia or myself after the meeting, we can send you the program manual that details exactly how income is
But the
calculated.
details are what the state has defined, correct?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So that's very important because that whole problem with an individual who will remain nameless who lives on Grove Street, he was being harassed over something that was not valid. And he was very upset over it. I talked to him about it. I know very well. And I said, you didn't do anything wrong. He said, well, why are people acting this way? I said, because they don't understand and we haven't communicated what it means to be able to qualify. He did what he was supposed to do to qualify. So we have to be sure, as part of this program, that we educate the public at large as to what the definition of annual income is. So they don't start, doing the same thing they did to that gentleman.
Well, I'm glad, Ms. Carey, that you brought that up because because of what happened, we are very sensitive to confidentiality in this program. Participation in the program does require a council resolution, but names and addresses will no longer be included in that because we don't want a repeat of what happened, and we will ensure that names and addresses are no longer made public.
Good.
Okay. Yes.
I had a question. Before the program was shut down, I think it was available in 2021. And I applied and had a case number assigned and was informed that I was ineligible because previously I had a roof replaced in 2015 through the county, the Essex County Home Loan Improvement Program. And so I was told that I had to wait 10 years before that expired before I would be eligible. So if I'm eligible now with the reinstated program, that 2015 grant, actually loan turned into a grant, would I be eligible this time?
Yes, because the 10
Yes.
years has expired, so yes.
Yes.
It is, that's written in all the program manuals that you can only apply once every 10 years.
Right.
So, yes, you would be eligible now.
And then the second part is so would I also be eligible if matching funds were available from the county?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Provided that there was
A need.
sufficient work
Right.
that needed to be done, and it's a
Right.
matter of health and safety issues
Right.
with regard to your home.
Right.
Yes. Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to point out a couple other items. I have a very wonderful administrative assistant who's very good at making flyers and QR codes. And so she prepared this flyer with the QR codes with links to a lot of the programs that we operate in our office. One is the home improvement program and the application. One is information about affordable housing in Montclair. We have one link to the Montclair Township newsletter. And there's another program that you may not be aware of. It's the 2026 lead service line replacement program. It states the township has received money to replace any water service lines between the main water line in the street and your house that may be lead. So you can tap onto the QR code for that if you want to apply for the program. The township would first go out to see if you do indeed have lead pipes. And if you do, would schedule it to be replaced at no expense to you. So the other item we're working on right now, and Cynthia, if you could just put this in the back so anybody can scan those codes. Our current initiative that my department is working on is the re-examination report of the master plan. And if you could pass these out. The state of New Jersey requires municipalities to re-examine their master plan, all their planning documents, all their land use related organizations every 10 years. The purpose of this evaluation is to determine if these plans and policies and documents are still valid. So we've actually been discussing this in Montclair probably for the past 4 years, off and on. It's a document of the planning board, prepared by the planning board because they're the ones that are working with this information on a daily basis. With input from the Board of Adjustment, we get an annual report from the Board of Adjustment. And what we have been doing is been reaching out to the various advisory boards and organizations in Montclair with targeted information to try and get input as to what's working and what's not working. The issue is the master plan is 8 separate elements, probably well over 1,000 pages. We don't even know what's in there. You know, we have to go back to the documents and read it to see how it applies to various applications. So trying to present all of the information that's in our master plan elements, that's in the 12 redevelopment plans that we have in effect, that's in our various land use regulations, plus the 2016 master plan reexamination report. It's a lot to unpack. So we are hosting 4 meetings. We had a kickoff meeting in April, public meeting about the master plan reexamination report. We're kicking off 4 weekly meetings in every ward starting next Wednesday to get input, comments from the public about what your impressions are. What are the problems? What's working, what's not working? I don't expect members of the public to know what's in our master plan. Again, some of these elements are very dense documents and hard to read. But we want to know what your impressions are. We'll give an overview of what various plans we have in place, an overview of what our plans state, regarding land uses, regarding parking, regarding circulation, historic preservation, open space and recreation, community facilities, utilities, stormwater, climate change. It's all in there, so it's a lot. So really we want to hear what you have to say. And we want to get input from you so we can incorporate it into this report that the planning board must adopt. And the adoption date must be by November of this year. So that's why we're scheduling these meetings, and they're not going to be formal meetings. I'll have a little brief presentation. By brief presentation, I think it's a 40-slide pack slide. I'll try and go through them pretty quickly. But again, to get your impressions. And I've invited members of the planning board. As you can see, these meetings are being hosted by the planning board. As I said, they're the ones that are going to be adopting this plan, this report, and they need to hear what your comments are about what's going on in Montclair. So I invite you to attend. You only need to attend one because it's going to be the same presentation with slight differences for each ward depending upon what's a little bit different about each ward. But I really invite you to give us your comments, and you can give us some initial comments this evening, although I know it's getting a little late. And participate in the process. Again, we'll be wrapping it up in November. Hopefully we'll have a draft plan in October. And that will really set the stage for what the planning department and the planning board will try to accomplish over the next 10 years.
Did you say there'll be a separate meeting on that for the public to come?
4 meetings.
Oh, 4 meetings.
If you see what I had, did you not get it?
You didn't get the paper yet.
Maybe you didn't get the, I have 4 meetings.
Oh, no, I have this. I didn't.
No, I'm sorry, it's right there, read it.
That's the schedule of 4 meetings. Again, I welcome you to attend. We really want to hear what you have to say.
Hi. I see they're all scheduled on the same night at the same time, and I work those nights, and I really would like to go to one. But I do have some comments that maybe I can offer now very quickly.
Sure.
I sent a letter that you may have gotten because somebody on the team responded with a photograph of an ivy-choked tree in my neighborhood in Montclair on private land, and I sent my observation that passive and loss of trees by neglect is not addressed in Montclair at all. Where it could be, there could be a lot of very sensible things that are done in the law to address that. You cannot cut down a mature tree without getting a permit, but you can allow the tree to fall because of invasive vines, and there are a lot of them in Montclair. So that was one thing that I just wanted to make a comment about. I would like to see something done. Most of the forest in Montclair is on private land, and it is super important for environmental justice to be able to breathe properly for coming impacts of climate change with drought and flooding and heat, to be able to take care of the tree canopy infrastructure in the city. It's one of the most valuable things in the city. So just that's one thing. The other thing that I comment that I would like to really emphasize is I know that we get, Montclair gets a lot of its energy, both gas and the electricity generated from the gas from the Marcellus shale fields in southwestern Pennsylvania. There have been multiple studies done that show definitively that people, children, families, they're dying from the environmental impacts. There are higher rates of lymphoma, higher rates of asthma. It's a devastating impact that is just really heartbreaking. And so when I look at the master plan documents, and as you said, there are so many pages that you can't see everything, so I may have missed something. And when I did as the best kinds of searches that I know how to do to see what there might be in the municipal codes about requiring new buildings, whether residential or business, to have electrical energy, so that we're not baking in fossil fuel infrastructure, so we're not putting in new gas lines,
Right.
So that we can have a higher, as time goes on, higher and higher level of renewable fuel that is providing the electricity to Montclair residents and saving those families, not heating our homes off of the health harm done to children. So my kind of impassioned input is if there could be some way to look at how we can make it a stronger, make our requirements stronger, that those new gas lines are not being put in. I don't see anywhere that it's just like, oh, well, it's kind of an aspiration,
Right.
but not that there's anything. So can it be required of all buildings? Can it be required of most? Under what circumstances? So that's my request. Thank you.
I do have your letter.
Okay.
I remember getting it, so that's something we will take up with the members of the planning board.
Thank you so much.
Any other?
I have one thing. I have commercial property at Upper Montclair, and we just have an epidemic on graffiti.
Okay.
And on my commercial buildings, I would estimate we've spent about $18,000. And as soon as we do a wall, the next day it's almost like a target. So I know I just would need an avenue to go either to the planning department or a conduit so we can get a resolution to it. The property owner can keep painting it, but we get to a point where we can't do it anymore. But I think if we could have like a multi-pronged program between the property owner, commercial owners, maybe the school system, if we get somebody on a security camera, they can't identify because of laws, and it becomes we can get fined for it, and we don't want it, and the township doesn't want it. So I guess what I'm asking is an avenue that I can come down and maybe some other business people that we can maybe brainstorm to not only take it off, but to keep it off, because the schools can't do it.
Yeah.
The police just have a great program where they'd actually have, what do they call them? I mean, they're markers. They're the kids that do this. And I'll just finish with this. It used to be they used spray cans, and we had products that could take it off. What their kids are using now is automotive paint.
Ooh, yeah.
And you can't take it off.
Okay.
So,
That's a good point. I was not aware of that. And I know that we now have an economic development coordinator who works in my department, Daniel White. Another grant-funded position. We'll have him for another 2 years.
How much to pay? I'll do it.
And he has been trying to reach out to the business districts. He's being paid by the it's an SBA loan, Small Business
He works in the township?
He works in my office for the township full-time.
I'd be
So
happy to
I think if you
coordinate.
reach out to Daniel, he could talk to you and any other business owners.
What's his name?
Daniel White,
Oh,
okay? Just, if you look on, I mean, I don't even bring any business cards with me.
If
But
you, yeah, you can reach out and then I can connect
have to
you.
be down
Yeah,
there tomorrow,
yeah.
so I can stop.
Yeah.
Is he in your department?
He's in my department, yep. And he would love to hear from you, because he has it's a little bit difficult to get the business owners to meet with him.
Really?
They seem to be very busy. So, oh yeah, he would love to meet
I'll
with you
buy him lunch.
and whoever else is involved in this to try and talk about a solution.
Tell
So,
him to bring his, never mind. Go
But
ahead.
anyway.
Yeah.
any other questions? Yeah.
Is there a way to know with the master plan, like the decision-making process, like if you have these 4 meetings, who's if there is a big turnout to propose something, and if it won't work for the master plan, why? Like to know how, from the beginning process until November, what's changed and what was proposed and what, was denied or anything
Well,
like that.
we're not changing the master plan. All this is an evaluation of the master plan and a discussion of what needs to be changed. So for instance, we've been talking about the need for missing middle housing. Our housing element makes some mention of missing middle housing, but our land use plan does not. So I imagine one of the recommendations was consider amending the land use plan to evaluate additional opportunities for missing middle housing. I have a whole list of things that I've heard from the various organizations that I've reached out to. That will be first of all, we're going to post everything, and I've given everybody a deadline of July 15th to give me input. They're saying they can't. So there's been pushback saying, yes, we can't get it to you by July 15th. So I said, okay, I may give you another couple extra weeks. So there's very limited information on our website now under the Master Plan Reexamination Report. I just have information that I got in 2023. When I get the reports, we're going to post everything. We're going to post the meetings on there so that you can watch what was said at these meetings. You can see the comments that we receive from the various organizations. So you'll be heard. But at the end of the day, all this gets delivered to the planning board. We do have some committees at the planning board who meet and discuss it. But there will be a public meeting where a draft plan will be presented and hopefully adopted, and that will have whatever recommendations, and it'll be recommendations, what's working in our plan, what's not in our plan, what needs to be added to our plan, what plans need to be tossed out and redone. Those are the kinds of recommendations that are in there. So it's not going to be I do not anticipate it's going to be any significant changes. By law, we can make significant changes, but I don't anticipate that. But we will keep you informed because we want to be as transparent as possible.
I guess just the amendments.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, little tweaks or, just based on what people have, what they
Basically,
speak out about, and then if it's not put in, why,
I think what you'll hear is the report will include what did we hear?
Okay.
What did we hear? Trees, there's been a lot of comments about trees and flooding and water, and that will be in the report what we heard. I can't tell you what the response from the planning board is going to be.
Of course.
Okay,
yeah.
but you...
No, I was just to know, I guess, in the end, what passed and what didn't,
Right. And what will happen is...
I understand.
But what typically happens is a list of recommendations, and then that will create the work the work for the board and my department to do over the next 10 years. And quite honestly, some of it will be accomplished, some of it won't. I've been here for 15 years. Some of what's been in our previous has been accomplished, some of it hasn't, just because we don't have funds and because there was no political will or board support for certain initiatives. So.
Right. Exactly.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Janice, and thank you, Cynthia. Thank you all for staying here. If you stay, you'll get to participate in a discussion or hear about the tree ordinance that a few of us have been, drafting. We're continuing to collect information and we're doing the draft. And then I also wanted to share a little bit about the Complete Streets and Safe Streets initiatives. But we can stay a little bit longer if you want to stick around.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Here you go. Rick?
So we've been working on the tree ordinance for several months and gotten a lot of input from the public. We're trying to, part of the problem in the township is we're still in the 19th century with record keeping, and it's all done by paper, and we haven't really even, township is in the process of developing computerized systems for a variety of programs, but one of them that it would apply to is the tree ordinance. The current tree ordinance is grossly inadequate. It is not leading to the real replacement of trees. What we're trying to accomplish is making sure that if a mature oak is cut down for legitimate reasons, and I'll return to that part, that it is replaced in kind, maybe not necessarily by an oak, but a similar tree that'll have a similar canopy when it's grown, not limited to just on a one-to-one, but to, in a number of instances for larger trees, require more than one tree be planted to replace it. And it matters what kind of tree is being used to replace it. We want to simplify the process for one, as I said before, invasive trees, just get rid of them. No permitting requirements, no nothing. We'll have a list of what are considered the invasive trees. To do a simplified procedure for hazard trees and dead trees, so you don't have to go through the entire process, but there is some process, so people aren't cheating and saying my tree is dying and cut it down, and when it's really perfectly healthy, maybe needs a trimming, but no reason to cut it down. There are going to be situations where it's not feasible to put a replacement tree on the property because there are already other trees there, and what we want to do is where a person is legitimately not able to do that, or if there's a multiple tree replacement requirement, that they have a big tree on a small lot, they're not going to be able to put multiple trees. It doesn't make sense, so it'll grow better just doing one tree. That replacement trees are then placed in the overburdened communities, the heat island areas in town that you saw the presentation in the beginning. Some of the things which I'll do what I want. We want to tie in the land use process so the development applications are addressing it and making sure then when they come in with the development plans that they're adhering to the requirements as to what trees need to be saved, what precautions are taken to protect those trees. Something that I threw in recently is to put a limit, and I didn't finish the sentence, but the number of trees that can be cut down without having to go to a board. So you heard earlier people cutting down multiple trees to put in a swimming pool, which if it doesn't need a variance, it's not going to a board to require them to go to a board. So they're not the sole people determining what trees are cut down. The other part of this is, it's going to require an annual reporting, so we have an accurate assessment of what's been cut down, what's been replaced. There'll be requirements on the homeowner to demonstrate, one, the replacement tree was put in before they get a certificate of occupancy for, if they're doing improvements on the property, and two, to demonstrate that after 2 years the tree is still alive and well and flourishing. I think that covers there are many people, as you saw tonight, in town who have very strong opinions on trees, and we've been getting their input, but that has somewhat slowed us down in getting something before the council. I think our goal at this point is at the August meeting to introduce it, and I'm sure once we introduce it at the public hearing, there'll be a lot of comments, and we'll probably need to revise it, or maybe decide, let's adopt it, get it in place, because the existing ordinance is not adequate, and then make amendments as we see the shortcomings of what we adopt. Questions?
This sounds wonderful, but how are you going to police it?
Well, one, by having it computerized makes it a lot easier.
Sure.
Not going
I
through.
have to tell you if I'm taking down a tree.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
What if I decide not to tell you?
Okay. I mean, I can do any number of things in our ordinances that, there will be penalties. This is something like virtually any other zoning issue. It's dependent upon neighbors telling.
Right.
We can penalize the homeowner, we can penalize the contractor.
You have to get a permit.
No, I know, but
So
it's,
you have to get a permit.
and-
That is what's going to click in control.
right, but what's,
And the other control we have, which is probably the more significant, it's going to require every company that is removing trees in town to
Penalize the
register.
contractor.
Yeah,
And-
that's a good move.
And that is probably going to be the best control, because we'll be able to revoke their license if they are cutting down trees without a permit.
Yes, and I don't think most of the people in my area, I mean, they're all the same tree companies. I know all the names of those tree companies. They're very reputable. They're not coming to cut down a tree without a permit. They don't care what the person wants. If the person says, I'll give you $10,000 to take down this tree without a permit, they say, they'll walk away.
Right, no,
Because business in our township is very valuable to them, and surrounding
yes.
them. So we don't have the fly-by-nighters that come into our community.
no, hold on
We
one
just
second.
don't have-
Wait a minute, I understand what you're saying. I've had 5 trees taken down off my property.
Mhm.
And the reason why I had them done was because 2 cedar trees in 2022, because they were on either side of flagstone patio and they were too close to the roof. That's why the roof had to be replaced, because the roof wouldn't dry out, and then the roof shingles had to be replaced. But this year or last year, I contacted Davy Tree Service, and they evaluated the Tree of Heaven. Davy Tree Service is a reputable company, and I asked them about the requirement for a permit to cut down the tree. Now the Tree of Heaven is circumference is about 64, 65 inches, and it's about 60 foot or greater tree. And I think I even got a quote from Bartlett, and they didn't say anything about going to the township to get a permit. They gave me the invoice, how much it would cost to take down that Tree of Heaven, and I think some other, de-stump some other stumps, and not one mention of, now this was Bartlett Tree Service, I can probably even show you the email on my phone, where they weren't going to, or didn't indicate that they needed to get a permit to take that Tree of Heaven down.
Mhm. Well, then that needs to be put in this program.
No, so that's what I mean.
It's the homeowner's responsibility to go get the permit, and it should really be the homeowner's responsibility.
Well, the way it's written now is the application form can be submitted by either the homeowner or the company, but if it's submitted by the company, the homeowner has to sign the application.
Right.
That's what it will be going forward.
Right, and I only found out about it because I had a dispute with a neighbor regarding a separate matter, and the Amina Toller, my 4th Ward Council representative, informed me about the new code for the tree. Like if you take down a tree, you have to replace it, and that's why, but she wasn't clear about an invasive tree either.
Right, so because I don't think, the current ordinance does not address invasives at all.
Right.
So the new one will.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And did we buy this, excuse me, did we put the money in this new budget to buy that program? That Ashland, Austin, I never remember his name because he has two first names. I met with him 3 years ago when he came in, I told him, this is the problem we have in town, and this is what you have to deal with. And the first thing he said to me is, he said, well, I could deal with it as soon as I get a program that can help me monitor the activities. I said, so how much is that going to cost? He said, can you tell me, $43,000?
So let me just, I will.
I said, well, we'll get it in the budget.
And I will tell you that that is definitely happening. It's a system that the council approved, to be purchased. It's going to be automating, a bunch of permitting, including this. And that was something that we, the group that's working on this feel really, I personally feel very strongly that that is a very necessary component of rolling out this new
it will take the
ordinance.
place of people, which we don't have.
And it will will be collecting information about species, about, what's being taken down, why,
When are we getting the
things like that.
program and installing it? I don't care about if we have it in the budget. I want the program working.
Mr. Marks said that it's very close to being able to be
It's
launched.
very close, well, so is this, the fix of the
It's-
driveway.
I'm letting you know that it's the tree permitting, permitting component of the system is one part of it. So that's why it's taking longer, because it's not just going to be the tree permitting that's part of the system. It's other types of permitting that we have in town. So
Yes.
So I suppose you have to think about what's the criteria for allowing or issuing a permit. Take this person who's building a pool. We might not like the fact that he or she is taking down all these trees, but he or she may have the right to build a pool in her backyard.
Yeah.
And so
we've talked about that.
it seems like a tough thing
Well,
to address.
okay, so let's start off with, if the pool needs a variance, it needs to go to a board, and part of the Board of Adjustment, and part of the Board of Adjustment's review is going to deal with what trees are being removed, stormwater, all normal board consideration. If it doesn't need to go to a board, it's variance free. One of the things I am proposing on the ordinance is to limit the number of trees that can be cut down, and if you exceed that limit, you go to a board so it can be addressed. There are criteria in the ordinance that have to be evaluated before the permit can be issued. There, I'll call them many for regular trees, less for trees that are hazard trees or and dead trees. So that, but there are criteria, and it's going to depend on our having a good forester in place, which hopefully we do now again. But we need someone who's qualified to be able to evaluate and say,
But we do, wait a second, let me just clarify something before you go home tonight. We do have a tree program. There is a definition as to what size the diameter tree can be before you have to go to the town for permission to cut it down. Okay, so it's a little skinny kind, you can cut it down. If it gets to a certain dimension, you have to go through the township and get the permit. And you have to replace the tree. If you don't replace it, you're supposed to pay the fine of $250 per tree. But we don't have any way of controlling that because we don't have a program, we don't have staff.
It's also just.
So there is a program, but we're not.
To your point, it's not just a matter of passing an ordinance, right? It's about education. It's about making sure, both the contractors and homeowner, property owners know what the rules are, that we don't, I think this is why as much as people want us to just churn out an ordinance, it's a matter, I think, it's a matter of basically what you said, balancing property owner rights and the need to really make sure that we don't have completely unregulated.
The planning board and the Board of Adjustment do all the time, in their site plan approval. Right. But I'm glad that there is going to be this ordinance because, and Janice isn't here, but there was a recent site plan application which required a tree to be taken down for safety reasons and ingress and egress reasons. And the tree that was going to replace it was just a crap tree.
I mean,
And so if
that's
it
one of the
really-
problems with the
yeah,
current
Yes.
ordinance.
It'd be really great.
Oh, you mean the town trees that get put in?
No, I
Which is
think,
town
I think
trees?
this was a tree on the private property.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
On Bellevue Avenue, the township's been very good at planting trees along there. Some of them die. It's a very hostile environment between the snow and the salt and everything else. In front of my stores, one has died. It died about a year ago or so. It's not, maybe it's 3 inches in diameter. What can the property owner do? Can we take it down? It's sort of a hazard in a way, but it's aesthetically not attractive. If the town replanted it, that would be okay, but I know that your resources are tight. So what legally,
So this is on, definitely on like, it's
well,
not
it's
on private.
on Bellevue Avenue, on the brick area,
Okay.
you know. And the township has been very good over the years. In the last 2 or 3, we have lost several. And again, the winters and the salt and the plowing, I don't know how any of them survive. The property owners, we're by ordinance have to weed them and put mulch on, which are happy to do that. But if a tree does die, what,
Okay.
without calling the town and having them come out with a backhoe?
Well, okay, so legally, that's the answer. It's a town's tree.
Backhoe?
No, you don't have the authority to remove it and replace it. You, having said that, I think, and, talk to the town arborist. I think they should be willing to agree to let you do it. I think one of the problems is there are trees that are more salt tolerant, making sure, and I don't think the town has paid particular attention. They've actually gotten better on the street trees.
Watering them when they're young.
Well, yeah, and see if they're willing to let you remove it and replace it and give you a recommendation as to what species would have greater survivability, but, it's not easy in a area that is predominantly pavement, sidewalk, and we do use a lot of salt.
You
should check that
said that we
language.
have a new arborist assigned to us now?
Yes.
There is a new arborist
Company?
assigned.
Because the last one was a nasty.
It's so, so
It's not a friendly
He was
person.
nasty to me. I called up,
it
the
was problematic.
astronauts or whatever.
Yeah,
I
I'm
called
giving
him up about that. The guy was so nasty to me.
The
I
trees
couldn't
didn't
believe
even
it.
like them, it's.
So we have, it's this, so just so you know, we do have a new arborist assigned. It's the same company, but it's a new arborist.
Okay, but that
Is it a
And
private company?
It is a private company,
Can
it's the
you
same
have that name,
contractor.
or should I call downtown?
Well, I think the information's on the website.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I just had a thought as this gentleman was talking about street trees. One of the problems is they're planted in such a small area. I guess it's maybe a 1 square, 1 concrete square, whatever that standard is. But it might be worth thinking about requiring more space
They're
in the
underground
tree
boxes.
planted area. Because there's not a huge amount of soil there to begin with, because you've got the tree, and you've got the street, and you've got all the pipes and things running in the street, so.
Yeah, the electric on both
You-
runs
you-
under
you
there.
are-
And it's sort of a
there are-
clay soil, so it's very difficult.
Yeah. And they're also, and I said before, they're planted, they come from the nursery planted too deeply, and they compromise the roots, so that's just a.
The separate problem, I agree with you, when you see municipalities that do the bigger area for the planting,
Yeah.
the trees are much more successful.
Yeah.
They're still not, you still can't count on them living 30, 40 years, but you do better than the 3 to 5 years that is more typical.
To that point, It's becoming standard in a lot of cities to require a certain kind, I don't remember what it's called, a box underground that allows the roots more.
Right.
So you don't need more,
It can't always be done because the utilities, depending upon where the utilities are done, but where that can be done, that's so they're not just dealing with this tiny little area that's this steep and.
And I would suggest that a store owner start planting a new tree in those spots, because what's underneath you, and you rupture something,
Well,
we might have a bigger
I mean,
problem.
yes, I'm assuming before you do it, he calls and has it marked out. Yes, do not dig without having it marked off, under any circumstances.
Your neighbors will not be
No, that's a
happy.
good point. Would have to let a PSC and Gmail whenever you do anything like that.
And the water department, there's
This might fall under
The sewer,
others too,
you know.
but maybe not, because I looked over and but everybody lets their dog pee on the trees, and when you multiply that, and I just wondered, can the property owner, can we put like a very decorative thing around that, small, like 8 inches or so, that's actually would help keep the mulch in. I don't know if there's regulation on that.
That's beyond my knowledge
We
level.
can look into that,
So I can
though. No, we can look into that.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's
it's
look
common in New York City
Yeah.
for, them people to
Thank
do
you.
that.
Thank you very, very much for your service and for having these meetings.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go.
If anyone would like to just stick around and just so I can fly through these safe streets.
Please.
I'd love to.
You're doing great work.
I'm
on
interested
that.
in this.
All right.
Okay, let's go.
Real quick, I'm not going to talk a lot. I just want to let you know about some of the Safe Streets projects. Thank you, Bill.
Let's go.
All right, some ongoing Safe Streets projects. There's the Upper Mountain Avenue traffic calming. That project is underway. It's funded by the State Department of Transportation. We have received. There's also a streetscape improvement and traffic calming project on Maple Avenue down in the 4th Ward that is funded by CDBG funds. We've received bids for those, and those are being reviewed. And then there's another traffic calming project on a part of Harrison Avenue, which is ready to go out to bid. Okay, Upper Mountain Avenue, some of the improvements that are being done are traffic calming to sort of narrow, get rid of these like long straight segments of the roadway in an effort to really force people to drivers to slow down. There's also going to be speed humps installed past Bellevue Avenue where there's more traffic activity. Okay, and then there's going to be improved crossings. And this is just a peek at what the top is, what it is there now, and the bottom is what is going to be done. Okay. Maple Avenue, the plan is to do improved crossings with higher visibility crosswalks, shortened crossings, right? And the rapid RRFB, it's those flashing beacons that you see when people press a button and press a button and it tells you when a pedestrian is coming. Those have been pretty effective on Grove Street, and so the plan is to install one on Maple Avenue. And as you know, that's where Glenfield School is, so I think that will be very helpful. There's also going to be speed humps and painted curb bump outs with delineators. There's also going to be some sidewalk repair at the Glenfield School. And again, this is from grant funding. So that's what it's going to look like. And this is a high priority area because of the schools and And on Harrison Avenue, the improvements that are being planned, and these were all sort of discussed presented at Complete Streets Oversight Board meetings. Improved crossings with higher visibility crosswalks. Harrison Avenue, as you know, it gets a lot of traffic. There's been problems with speeding. Traffic calming measures with narrower lanes. We're also planning a buffered one-way bike lane and curb bump outs with delineators. The engineering work is, I believe it's almost complete, and we're going to be going out to bid. I believe that there's a resolution pertaining to this for the next council meeting, which is next Tuesday. Okay, so really quick, I don't know if any of you have become aware. The mayor and council, in May, I believe it was, we passed a series of ordinances impacting parking meter rates, parking permits, the monthly permits for surface lots and decks, and increasing the rates for parking meters in special business districts, which is basically the downtown where Montclair Center is, as well as extending the hours from currently it's 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and the new hours would be 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. And this is just in the special, again, in the special business districts. We also passed an ordinance updating the loading zones. So basically, the reason for these changes is twofold. It's to deal with areas of congestion where there's a lot of traffic demand, problems like double parking in these like high business areas, and other pedestrian safety concerns. There's also the ongoing costs of maintaining, the parking decks, the parking meters, all of that. And so we voted. We hope that these changes will help improve the availability of parking, and especially in some of the the very dense business areas. Increase, get people to turn over the spaces in these prime areas that are really intended for short-term use. I mean, downtown happens to have a number of parking decks, and we want to try to turn over, people who are parked at these meters for a long time.
I have a comment on Watchung Center from a couple of people who brought this up to me. The fact that you're increasing the price $1.50 per hour, and you extended the hours from 9 to whatever it was, 8 to 10.
9 to 10 instead of 8 to 7.
Yeah. A lot of people who go to very few restaurants that are in Watchung said that having this increased price on them is really inhibiting them from coming to those restaurants because now they're going to pay more money for that. And nobody is around that section at night. And that's not an area that at that point in time needs turnover of the people that are parking there. So that is just something to consider. I know it sounds unique, but we have three, we have the far little section, the far end of town, and the main center. Then we have Watchung Center, then we have up in Montclair. Three very distinctive villages are sitting here, I call the center of the city, and then the two villages. And they all have different personalities, and they move differently. Watchung is that tiny little quiet section in there, basically. It's not so quiet during the day when people get coffee and trying to double park. But that was, a number of people said that to me.
Okay.
About increasing those meters right there around the circle, and raising the time frame for them to go to La Couronne or the other restaurant around the corner.
Okay,
I said, well, I'm going to this meeting, I'll bring it up.
that's fair. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we want people to go to those restaurants. There aren't too many of them, Otherwise, we won't have them.
Thank you. We should. I think. Are those definitely in the special part of the special?
But the street parking meters are everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
The ordinance applies.
Well, the street, you program those particular meters around that circle, around the street, around the circle, so that it doesn't increase the prices beyond its current time.
No, we would have to. I mean, it's all street meters.
But I'm sure you can program those.
Yes,
right?
I mean, it has to be programmed.
That would be very helpful for that little tiny area that people still like to have a few restaurants in. Everyone doesn't want to go downtown.
So this is what's changing. The standard on-street meters are, like you said, going up by 50 cents. And by the way, the parking rates haven't been increased since, I believe it's 2018 was the last time
Don't
they were
bring that up,
changed.
it doesn't mean anything to anybody. It's what are we paying today?
Okay, so here's what's changing. This is actually online.
I saw that.
Is that,
Yes.
like non-commuter, is that, they used to have like day parking and then night parking? If you get a
That's what it
permit,
is.
is that for like a 24-hour cycle?
For the surface lots?
Well, non-commuter permits for parking permits?
I'll have to get back.
The reason
I
I
don't know,
was
I
so
think the
asked me
overnight
about
park,
it.
we'll have to,
No, it's
I can
okay.
get
I think
back
you need
to
to
you.
read the rest of this situation. I want to go home, but I don't want to be impolite and leave you.
That's okay. And I'm gonna just sort of skip over these grant applications. I'm just letting you know that the Complete Streets Department, of course, many of these improvements, that's why we established this department. They need funding, we need money to be able to make improvements to our streets, make them safer, make them more pedestrian and bike and, just generally safer. So these are 3 grants that the department is currently pursuing. And lastly, there's going to be 3 local safety action plan demonstration projects, which are temporary measures like traffic calming, projects to sort of test the effectiveness of the efforts that are part of the demonstration. So there are 3 currently planned throughout the township. This is all being done through a federal grant that Montclair received, and they'll be done in the fall of 2026. And these are the areas that the demonstration projects will be done. Like I said, it's just very short term at Claremont and North Fullerton, which is a very heavily trafficked area. Yep. At the traffic signal, there's going to be, the bullet shows you all of the things that are going to be tested, painted curb extensions, the paint will be like temporary, it'll wash off very quickly, flexible bollards, enhanced crosswalks, daylighting, a parklet in front of the Paper Plane Coffee Shop.
What does that mean?
Where do you remember during COVID, there were like little wooden, I don't know, like benches, like,
oh, yes.
where the parking spots were, people
Yeah.
could sit down, like that. Here's the second demonstration project that's planned at Cedar Avenue and High Street. That's right where Nishwain School is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're testing out some school zone markings, painted curb extensions, bollards, speed reduction pavement markings. And this is the last demonstration project at Park Street in Lorraine to Gordonhurst, which is a very short bike lane that's going to be tested out. Okay?
Okay, I got one thing for you, very important, that we need to do in communications, education in this township. And that is, we've got to get everyone in town to understand, when you walk against the traffic if you're walking out in the street, okay? If you ride your bike, and of course the e-bike's a whole nother problem, you do that, and you jog, you do that with the traffic. Now the reason why I say that is I walk on Yanko Brook Road every single day with my dog, all right? And some people somewhere found that Yanko Brook Road out during COVID, and they could cut through. They go up Lorraine from Broad Street. They cut down, Alexander, Yanko, and then they go up Club to cut off the one goddamn light up there. And they drive like maniacs down the road. And then they do it in reverse order. And we just got to find out a brand new street there again, just opened up again 2 days ago. They're going to drive like maniacs, okay? But when I'm walking my dog and I say to people that I don't live in the neighborhood, I say, you're supposed to walk against the traffic. And they go, oh yeah, I know. And then they keep walking. And I have been hit by a car when I was a little kid. I almost got hit by a car on the corner of Yannicol and Heller by a kid in his parents' BMW, okay? Thank God I jumped to the curb. But we've got to get the people to understand this. If we don't educate them on what you're supposed to do with walking and riding your bike, or those, well, the whole e-bike is another, at least we're starting something with the state on that, you know, that's.
E-bikes are
But we've
under
got to also
they're
go back.
licensed, right?
We have
State
to
law.
educate the people of Montclair about e-bikes. You go by the high school at the end of the day, you know how many e-bikes come down Chestnut?
Yes, when I drive, I'm going to work. And I
It's
see
like
how
a,
many
it's like a
cars
hornet's nest coming down. I mean, and you're like, you better stop your car because here comes all these kids. They're crazy. But we have to educate. We can't educate the world, but we certainly can educate Montclair people. Well, let's get it in the local and the patch and those, and keep repetitive, so people really start realizing. The very first person that got killed on Grove Street that caused those flicker signs was a very good friend of mine from my church, who left her husband to clean the dishes, and she said, I'm gonna go and take a walk. And she went to walk across Grove and got hit by a car, dead. And the cops came back to her house to tell her husband, your wife is dead. That was a real experience for us at Union Congregational Church. That's what caused those flashers.
Yeah.
We're very sensitive to traffic and accidents with pedestrians and bikers and everything. And we can't, and another thing is we got to figure out how are we going to get the cops down at the other end, like the streets that are ours, not the county streets. We can't put them at the end of Grove and say, okay, keep giving people tickets, right? We can't. Can we do that?
Yes, we can give tickets.
If we, see, we get those people getting tickets. They're coming down Grove from Clifton, and now they're going to come into our township. If we give them some tickets, they start telling their friends and tell their friends and tell their friends, don't go on Grove Street in Montclair, you're going to get a ticket. And they're never going to forget that because they get 2 points in their license, so they get 3 times. They get 4 years of surcharges on their insurance, and they get 3 years to be paid to the state. They don't do that again. We've got to get the cops to start helping us make the streets safer in Montclair. I mean, it's not fun to be hit by a car. And when I saw that Mercedes headlight, I'll never forget that in my life.
Promise.
When I saw
Hang
that
on,
Mercedes
I'll get you
headlight
after
in
the
that
meeting.
car,
I'm gonna.
I jumped in the curb. I mean, I didn't even know. I thought it was going to be a dead person.
Thank you. So we are dedicating more resources to street safety. It's about education, the way the roads are designed, as well as enforcement. So
On bikes and walking.
I apologize. So I want to thank you. Thank you for this discussion. I'm happy to stay a little bit after, but I do want to be mindful of the tech crews. I thank you for our township employees for staying a little bit after. Here's our contact information. Please do sign up to get the email alerts from the town. And I hope this was helpful, and thank you all for coming and watching.
You're a good team. Good team.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah.